And right now on Power Play, we've got the exclusive with both the CEO of Evergy and TerraPower joining us. To my left is TerraPower CEO Chris Levesque, and here on my right is Evergy CEO David Campbell. Appreciate to you both. So, David, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, it's your job to get the power to the people. You just heard that last segment. I saw you both kind of out of the side of my eye nodding to certain things. Do we need nuclear and lots of it to make all of this occur?
We do. We have a generational opportunity right now in terms of power demand. The amount of increased demand that we're seeing is we haven't seen in decades. Over the near term, we're going to meet that need with natural gas and with solar. But we're a nuclear operator today. For us to have a sustainable, clean, reliable system, we're going to need to add nuclear to the mix. It's going to be a very important addition to our fuel mix and generation source going forward. All the above is the strategy that's going to work best for customers. And we're really excited about this announcement for the next wave of nuclear to be part of the solution.
And let's Chris, let's talk about the next wave of nuclear, because this is incredibly important. A lot of our viewers have they know about Chernobyl. They've watched the HBO documentary. It's excellent. Miniseries, I should say. It's excellent. They hear about 3 Mile Island, now called the Crane Energy Center. This is not that nuclear, correct? Explain how what you're doing at TerraPower is different than sort of my generation or my parents' generation thought about nuclear.
Sure, and thanks for having us, Brian. And, it's funny you mention our parents, because, in fact, the 94 nuclear reactors in the U.S. today were paid for by our parents in their electricity bills. And, those were hugely capital-intensive plants. And honestly, we've been having trouble getting into new builds in the U.S., even though everyone loves U.S. nuclear plants once they're built. And what's that's telling us is that today's plants are too capital-intensive. And that's the reason we need to move to advanced nuclear reactors like Natrium, our TerraPower plant, which, by any objective measure, the next nuclear power station to go online in the U.S. is going to be TerraPower's Natrium reactor in the state of Wyoming. We're scheduled to load nuclear fuel there in 2030. And we're so thrilled that, today to be announcing with Dave and Evergy and Governor Kelly and Kansas, that we're examining deploying Natrium reactors. After our first Wyoming reactor, we're now examining deploying Natrium reactors in Evergy's service region in Kansas. So, I applaud Governor Kelly for recognizing that, to attract, economic development in Kansas, they're going to need nuclear there. And, I also applaud, David and Evergy for, operating their Wolf Creek plants so safely for the last 30-plus years. That's built the confidence that these plants will be safe. And it's made Kansas a really welcoming community for new nuclear. However, again, for the economics to work, we really need to move to these less capital-intensive plants like Natrium, which...
I think you, Chris, follow up on that, because I think you read my notes or read my mind, maybe from afar. I don't know. Because people will point to the Vogtle plant in the U.S. state of Georgia. They had 1 and 2 reactors. They added 2 more. It was like $36 billion, $7 billion over budget, years over budget. And they say, listen, nuclear is too expensive, it takes too long, and it's too dangerous. You've heard all that. I'm not breaking news to you. So what are the responses to those objections?
Sure. I think, again, with, plant performance like Evergy's plant in Kansas, the safety question is answered, right? In the U.S., there's great public support for nuclear energy. The big obstacle is the CapEx, and that's where we have to move to the new technology. Bill Gates and our other investors, by the way, NVIDIA just joined our, private investor family. Our investors are supporting TerraPower and the Natrium reactor because this plant will need less than half the concrete, half the steel, half the labor to build the plant. So that's really going to, improve our ability to deliver these plants at scale. Mm-hmm. We're going to deliver that first plant in 2030 on a schedule really that's similar to natural gas plants today. And we're going to be quickly scaling up. I heard you talk in the previous segment about, those tens of gigawatts we need. Natrium is going to be a fairly large plant, a third of a gigawatt per plant. And it's going to have built-in energy storage as well, which is going to allow it to really, be optimized for working on a grid that has loads that are changing all throughout the day, as well as wind and solar that are very intermittent and coming and going throughout the day.